Good morning. Happy New Year. This is Lama Jigme, also sporting the Jean-Luc Picard haircut as promised. For the next 4 weeks, you get to watch my hair resume its normal Julius Caesar haircut, kind of like a living chia plant. Okay, now let's get back to Dharma. Welcome to Meditation Lesson 3, Video 5. Now, all my videos in this 52 lesson series are commentaries on various practice texts. So, this is only going to make sense if you've got the latest practice text open on your desktop. Don't worry, it's free. I wouldn't set you up like that. So here's the deal. How are you going to get your hands on the latest version? Easy. Below this video, there should be a whole list of links and little explanations for the links. If you don't see that, easy fix. In the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, there should be a little YouTube icon. Give that a click or two. That'll take you to YouTube's dedicated page for this video. About an inch below the video screen, you'll see a button that reads Show More. Give that bad boy a click. It should reveal a list of links the length of your arm. The first link will take you to my Facebook page where you can like if you wish. The second link will take you... what will it take you to? Oh yeah, it'll take you to the page that says the 52 lessons, the page of my website, so you can go back and watch the first video of the first lesson and then the second video of the first lesson. Because if this is your first time watching my talking head, you're going to be confused, dazed and confused for so long it ain't true. The third link will take you to a page on my website called the First Quarter Class Materials. When you get that page, there'll be a free essay, a free image similar to this, and a link to download the latest free PDF entitled the first set of lesson texts. Pause the video, do that right now. I'll wait right here. Oh, you're back? Fantastic. So I'm dealing with the spiritual enthusiasts who have been watching my videos in sequence whilst working with the practice text. Mazel tov, as my grandmother would say. Okay, right now we are on join me on page 67 of the first set of lesson texts. Sometimes the numbering's a bit wonky, so you'll know you're on the right page when the heading reads in great big bold letters, Lamrim's intellectual path to a Buddha's spiritual mastery. Beneath that it says compassion training, and then on page 67 and 68 we have 4 exercises. Now this is very, very important. I'm not going to lie to you, this is a very unconventional, like an unconventional approach to compassion training, but it works really, really well. The more conventional contemplations or the advanced lessons to follow, my first priority is not to indoctrinate you in dogma, but to give you useful, practical tools to generate compassion in your heart. So, so let's have a pop quiz from my eager beavers out there. How would you delineate between compassion and love? Okay, the answer to the pop quiz is compassion and love are two sides of the same coin. Compassion sees suffering and the causes of suffering and takes it away, or at least intends to take it away. Love sees needs and the causes of those needs and tries to meet those needs. You see, my friends, there is a horrendous, pseudo-spiritual, profoundly destructive myth that if someone is really spiritual, they'll never notice another person's suffering. They'll be so blinded by the benefit of the doubt that they'll put Pollyanna to shame. Folks, That ain't compassion. There's a myth that if we're truly spiritual, we'll bend over backwards, justifying, rationalizing, excusing, minimizing, and fatalizing people's inappropriate behavior. That's not spiritual. That's pseudo-spiritual, because if they're behaving inappropriately, they're shooting themselves in the foot. If we don't have the skill or the spiritual authority to perform counseling on someone, at the very least we can use the spiritual techniques that follow to metaphysically intervene and shift the spin of their psychic momentum. Once again, being a meditation practitioner does not give us a right to be an asshole and, run around making people cry. But it also doesn't justify us to be a wimp and do nothing. So, for instance, these 4 exercises that you're going to learn on pages 67 and 68 are wonderful tools. If you have a neighbor who is exhibiting the symptoms of alcoholism and he's poisoning himself and he's destroying his relationships, you might not be an addictive substance specialist, but you can do something on his behalf. Now, an atheist fundamentalist might say there's nothing you can do to help anybody else, even though that contradicts, the teachings of quantum physics. Great. At the very least, you'll be training your own heart and your own mind in the psychic momentum of compassion. But if what they tell us about particle physics is true, and that by simply observing a particle, we influence a particle, then things really are interconnected. And things affect other things. Beings affect other beings. If not directly, then indirectly. If not actually, then potentially. That means it is possible for us to become spiritual superheroes. Just like Neo in the final reel of the first Matrix movie. How fun was that? Wow, that movie is about 14 years in the past. Woof! I remember where I was the first time I saw that movie. Anywho, let's get back to the text at hand. There are 4 exercises on these 2 pages. Each exercise has a heading just above it. Scholars call those superscriptions. The first 2 headings begin with the 2-word phrase, selfish aversion. When we jump over to page 68, we see the 2 headings begin with the 2 words, universal compassion. So, here's the idea. Imagine, if you will, an umbrella. When it's all closed up and you've wrapped the strap around it with a snap, it's all tight, okay, it's an umbrella, completely closed. But when you release the strap and slide the bit up along the shaft, it opens up completely. It's still the exact same umbrella, but in a different state. Okay, so far that's a great big fat no duh. But bear with me. In a prior lesson we discussed the 3 mental poisons of aversion, confusion, and avarice. Let's deal with aversion or hate right now. It's said that when hate is our master, it's a poison. It makes us do terrible things, or at least foolish things, or at least destructive things. But did you know there's a way to work with our hate, to cause it to blossom into universal love? That's exactly what these 4 exercises are about. You see, some people say, oh, nope, you should never have aversion for anything. Buddha didn't say that. Renunciation, which we'll get to in a future lesson, is all about aversion for sufferings and the causes of suffering. So it's okay to have aversions as long as we use them in a very constructive way. So, one of the first challenges in Buddhism is to be honest with ourselves and authentic with ourselves. That does not give us license to be cruel or vicious, but to be honest with ourselves about what we feel in the moment. There's great potential power in that. For instance, let's pretend I have postnasal drip. And let's pretend I don't like having postnasal drip. In that moment, I'm very enthusiastically concerned about my personal suffering. So that's self-centered aversion. But what if I use well-worded, effective, powerful exercises to use my personal aversion for postnasal drip as a stepping stone to develop an aversion for everyone's postnasal drip? What if I taught myself and conditioned myself to feel just as enthusiastic to rescue everyone else from their postnasal drip as I already do to rescue myself? Well, when that happens, we are playing with universal aversion or universal compassion. Because remember, compassion wants to take suffering away. If I want to take suffering away from myself, that's selfish compassion. When I want to take the exact same suffering away from all other living beings, that's universal compassion. Now you can say, oh, selfish compassion, that sounds bad. I don't want that. Well, if it's the be-all, end-all, it's not very useful. But if selfish compassion is a stepping stone to universal compassion, and here's the irony, then our own selfishness can serve us on the spiritual path. Now, I'm not sure if you can see that in the background. That's Rinpo Kitty, basement cat, expressing his existential ennui. Oh, little kitty cat, Happy New Year's. He's lounging on his back like a naughty Roman emperor. So here is our intention. We want to be aware of what's going on in our life. And when something unpleasant rears its scabby little head, we're going to use that as a spiritual opportunity to cultivate universal compassion. In those rare instances when we don't have anything sucky going on in our life, we can use the generic term yuck, And that's kind of vague, so let's explore some specifics. Now, as we look on page 67 at the two exercises, the first heading reads Selfish Aversion's Logic, and in brackets it reads Contemplation Analysis. The heading for the second exercise reads Selfish Aversion's Will, and in brackets it reads Concentration, Focus. So in the Pali, concentration and contemplation are delineated with the terms samatha and vipassana. In Sanskrit, it's very similar. It's shamatha and vipassana. So let's begin with, and believe it or not, there are different parts of our mind, different energy pathways, and we really want to make this a whole brain learning experience. So we remember, if you've already watched the lessons for all the videos, for the lesson 1 set of videos, then you know about the power of assumptive, well-worded, rhetorical, mantra-empowered questions. Kitty cat, your existential ennui is distressing. So we read, why could I long, and there's a grammar crisis, because this can be used personally or on behalf of a third person. So let's pretend we're practicing on behalf of Kitty cat. Why could I long to free Kitty cat from the tyranny of existential ennui and its causes? There's a whole bunch of stuff going on there. So let's begin with the first line. Why could I long? We're not lying to ourselves and say, oh, how I long to relieve others of their sufferings. Oh, behold the profundity of my compassion. No, we're not lying to ourselves or to others about what we feel. But we're asking the question that gets the mind looking for reasons why we could care for someone else's suffering. And that's huge. If that doesn't make sense to you, then go back and rewatch all the videos from the first lesson set of videos. So why could I long to free Kitty Cat from the tyranny? So remember, it's not just the sufferings that give us a problem, but the tyranny of suffering. When sufferings or impulses control our choices and the way we communicate and our actions, that's when life becomes barrel of monkeys. So why could I long to free, and in the blank we would mentally write the phrase Kitty Cat. Why could I long to free Kitty Cat from the tyranny of existential ennui and its causes? Let me see. Kitty Cat wants to go out. Give me a second here. Come on, basic cat. Have fun. Make friends. Who was it who wrote that a kitty cat is a four-legged creature forever on the wrong side of a closed door? If you know who wrote that, please write me back and let me know. Okay, now let's deal with us. This is most powerful when we deal with ourselves. So, why could I long to, and we use the word in brackets, be freed, and notice the D is in brackets. See how we make this flexible? Why could I long to be freed from the tyranny of postnasal drip and its causes? Now let's say, right now you may be saying, well, I'm a Jigme. I don't have postnasal drip. So we're going to use the generic term yuck. Why could I long to be freed from the tyranny of yuck and its causes? So let's mentally recite this question on the in-breath, and then let's whisper the mani 7 times on the out-breath. Now, if you can't recite the mani 7 times on one out-breath at this point, you haven't been doing your homework. If you've been doing your homework for the last 2 or 3 months, this should be easy peasy lemon squeezy. So if you can't do it, go back and not only rewatch the videos, but do your homework. Approximately 25% of the videos are just me taking you by the hand and walking you through various homework assignments so you can get more and more comfortable with these techniques. So if you haven't gotten comfortable yet, you haven't been doing your homework. Go back, do your homework. You'll be glad you did. Okay, so why can I long to be freed from the tyranny of yuck and its causes? Now remember, these are rhetorical questions. It's not our job to answer these questions. Au contraire, it's our job to ask the question and then relax into the recitation of the 6-syllable mantra, also known as the mani. Now, let's play with the second exercise on page 67. The second exercise is not a contemplation, it's a concentration. It's time for us to exercise our will, our intention, our volition, if you play with crossword puzzles. May I be free from the tyranny of yuck and its causes right now. You can say, hey, Lama Jigme, you oddly dressed buffoon, yuck is not terribly dignified. It is a term for beneath my station in life. Well, isn't that great? So here's the deal. Playful terms are good. They help us not to take ourselves so seriously. Remember, the spiritual path is not life or death brain surgery. It's a fun process. Laugh. Enjoy yourself. May I be freed from the tyranny of yuck and its causes right now. Together. Now there you go. You say, hey, you might say, Lama Jigme, why aren't you whispering? Because if I whispered, you couldn't hear me. And then you would ignore me and start playing with the volume on your computer. So, join me now on page 68. Now, remember what we learned in the first lesson. The first lesson set of almost 50 videos. We learned that there's a portion of the mind, there's a mechanism in the mind that loves to answer questions. And it doesn't care if the answers are correct, incorrect, or irrational. It just wants to answer questions. And if the question has a premise or an assumption behind it, every time it strives to answer the question, it reinforces the premise. Remember I told you about my first case of unrequited love, where I was in love with Terry Fink back in the 6th grade, and she was not in love with me. And every day I'd come home from school lamenting, why doesn't Terry Fink love me? And I told you, remember I told you how the danger of that question is that it reinforced the assumption that she didn't love me. And so with every time I asked it, I became more and more and more and more convinced, intellectually and viscerally and emotionally, that she didn't love me. Remember that? Good. Same thing here. Back in 67, we asked, why could I long to be freed from the tyranny of yuck? And every time I ask that question, it's like I'm stacking. Remember we talked about stacking when we were kids, and you get that snack, and little boys, if they get Oreos, they'll try to stack them and see how high they can make them go. Our mind was, when we asked the first question on page 67, our mind was stacking up all these reasons why. It's an outrage that I, of all people, should suffer. And that's okay. It's okay to be, bombastic and petty and self-centered, because we're using it for good outcomes. We've got this huge psychic momentum about why my experience of yuck is appalling. Now when we use a very similar question on page 68, why could I long to free everyone from the tyranny of yuck and its causes, or from the tyranny of existential ennui and its causes, or from the tyranny of postnasal drip and its causes? If this was the first compassion question, my mind might be able to come up with these many questions. But remember, our first go on page 67 was self-centered, and we were very selfish. So our brain was very enthusiastic for us not to suffer. So what happens is we borrow on that selfish enthusiasm for our own freedom, for whatever we don't like. And that feeds our selfless compassion, our universal compassion for all living beings. You don't have to believe me. You don't have to understand with this. Just play with this exercise, and you'll notice the results. And don't worry. When we get to the end of the new material videos for this set of videos, the final videos will be silent exercises to apply these techniques. And when you start applying them twice a day, every day, you'll notice, wow, this is helping me to give a flying fuck about others. And that's what compassion really is. Training our mind, training our heart to give a damn about what others feel. I'm reminded of what my dear old first stepfather used to say about comedy and tragedy. He used to say, comedy is when you see a little old lady slip and fall on a banana peel, whereas tragedy is when I slip and fall on a banana peel. Compassion is the opposite. Compassion is learning how to care when someone else slips on a banana peel and become equally, if not more, distressed by their suffering than ours. If we just play with these 4 exercises diligently, daily, they will transform us. And that is the magic of assumptive, well-worded, rhetorical, mantra-empowered questions. Why can I long to free everyone from the tyranny of yuck and its causes? And we come to the 4th of the 4 exercises. So, we started off by asking, why could I long to be freed from the tyranny of yuck? And then we would exercise our will. And then we shifted gears and we explored, why could I long to free everyone from the tyranny of yuck? And that was that exploration was fueled by the previous selfish exploration or contemplation. Now that we've put these gears of universal compassion into motion, we can apply them to our intention. May everyone be freed from the tyranny of yuck and its causes right now. Why do you put the phrase right now there? Because you can't manifest for the future, you can only manifest for right now. It's weird, but it's been consistently observed that when we set a goal for something to happen in 2 weeks, 2 weeks is always 2 weeks away. And part of us kind of feels that way. It's just out of reach. But we set a goal to be able to do something right now, it changes everything. Why? Couldn't tell you. It's simply a consistently observable phenomena. So let's play with this right now. May everyone be freed from the tyranny of yuck and its causes right now. Pardon. So here's the neat thing. 4 simple exercises, arguably take less than 2 minutes to practice. We have anything that causes us pain in our lives, we feed it into these 4 exercises. It generates universal compassion. It doesn't matter if our distress is important or petty. It doesn't matter if our distress is rational or illogical. All that matters is that we're aware of the gurk in our life when it manifests. We don't have to search for it. Don't worry. It'll show up on our doorstep and knock. When the crap in our life manifests, if we're cunning and we bring it into these 4 exercises, it will transform our heart and our mind, inevitably. There's a wonderful phrase taught to me by one of my teachers about the compassion of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas and the truth of cause and effect. And the inference is this. Yes, 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 it's nice that we have the power of the 6-syllable mantra. But even more powerful than invocation is karma, is causality, is interconnection between our actions and the effects they generate. And simply playing with these 4 exercises sets in motion a chain of events, perhaps a chain of dominoes falling, that will transform us, regardless of what we think, regardless of what we feel, regardless of what has been done before. The only test of any teaching is the effects they generate in our life. Remember this. When encountering a new teaching, what do? Suspend judgment, receive the teaching, practice the teaching twice a day, every day, for 6 consecutive days. Engage your judgment, notice the results. If we got crap results, wash off our hands, find a new teaching. If we got good results, let's stick this teaching in our, what's the word I'm going to use? In our cadre of techniques, in our tool shed of techniques, in our arsenal of spiritual techniques. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to save the silent version of these exercises for tomorrow's class. Let me check the timer on the video thingy. Yes, it's been 29 minutes. I think I have burdened your attention span long enough for this New Year's Day. I thank you for your time and your kind attention. May you and yours be healthy and happy. Om Mani Padme Hum. Now, before you go, if you're terribly smart or terribly kind, you'll find the little thumbs up button, the like button. You'll give that a click. Maybe you'll find the share button over here, the share button over there. That'd be lovely. But most important, find the subscribe button in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. Give that a click. Skedaddle over to the YouTube homepage. bottom left-hand corner, you'll find a box that reads, or a tab that reads Manage Your Subscriptions. Find the Lama Jigme. Click the box to the right. That will allow you to receive email notifications every time I upload a video. That's the best way to stay current with my videos. Now, many people ask, when is my next series of weekly webinars? Well, the registration link is in one of the links below the video and begins Monday, the 7th of January. I'll see you there. Bye-bye.